Hello and welcome to the Fit for Business Life podcast. The Fit for Business Life podcast is brought to you in partnership with Sharp Fit for Life and the Business Buddy Network, improving the performance and transforming busy, overweight professionals, business owners, consultants, along with their teams to become fitter, happier, more confident. The Fit for Business Life podcast is all about sharing passion, knowledge and expertise around business and personal performance. From our hosts, myself, Martin Sharp, a 30-year change maker in businesses large and small, and Dominic Furness, a world traveller and life enthusiast. Plus special guests sharing their know-how and experience in making changes in their business and themselves. Featuring inspirational stories, insights, tips, and practical knowledge, bringing more healthier, happier, and higher achievements to your world.
Why not follow this podcast we're live on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music? If you're watching this on YouTube, please drop us a like, subscribe, maybe comment on what you would like us to talk about in future episodes. We very much appreciate all of your support.
So now, sit back and enjoy the Christmas edition of this episode of the Fit for Business Life podcast, brought to you in partnership with Sharp Fit for Life and the Business Buddy Network. I must admit, I'm excited. We're now in the Christmas month.
Yeah, December the 1st, baby. Let's go.
Absolutely. And today you've got some really interesting and exciting things to talk about where we're going into
moderation. So yeah, what does moderation really mean to you this December?
Yeah. So now when we talk about moderation, we'll talk about that whole rest, recoup, regenerate, relax, all those kind of lovely starting words that kind of mean that you're taking time back for yourself. Because, as we've talked about on several other episodes, it's not during the stressful moments that actually the improvements happen. It's in those relaxing moments that actually where your body can repair itself and it takes its time to actually recover from the stresses of life. So the stresses give you the impetus to change. It's the rest and relaxation that makes the change actually happen.
Yeah, definitely. So a question for you then. How do you decide when to say yes and when to say no to something tempting? How do you moderate those decisions around this time of year? We have kind of touched upon this in the other episodes, but I'll throw it into this one too.
Yeah, well, I kind of guess a lot of it's going to come down to what is you fancy doing. It's easy with Christmas to just get carried away in the whole stress of it all. I mean, it can be a very stressful time, and it's a nice stress, don't get me wrong. You get to see friends, you get to see family, you get to do things that you don't normally do during the year. But at the same time, that can very much snowball. And if you're not careful, then you suddenly find yourself crashing from one event to another, from one visiting one person's house to another visiting somebody else's house. And I do remember really early on when you guys were very young, that's exactly how it felt like. It literally felt like Christmas was just literally picking you guys up and moving from house to house to house. And it was an awful experience. And thankfully, your mum just turned around and said, no, we're not going to do that. What we need to do is actually create space for the kids to enjoy Christmas. And that was brilliant. So with them, that created some very clear boundaries for us in our family. And then rather than kind of moving everybody around, we just said, okay, you guys can come to us. Or we chose to go to one person's house for that Christmas day.
Right, so that sounds like a way that you've sort of navigated the Christmas period. But I think my question there was like, how do you moderate the temptations? Because like you've been to all these people's houses, and I would imagine like going to like various grandmas, cousins, this, that, and the other, like you might feel obliged to, like, they've got mince pies or something, they've got cake or something, they've got crisps or something. Like these are all like tempting things that it's just easy, it's polite to say yes to. Like, how did you moderate saying no to some of these things?
Okay, so we're going back onto the food pal. So, I mean, we can go back to meals if you want, but it kind of, like you said, we've kind of gone through a lot of that conversation. It's about, knowing exactly, what you need for your body, where your goals are, and making sure that your goals are real, true goals that fire you up, that actually you want to achieve, that you feel that passion inside you. Because then when your goals are so big that actually everything else seems insignificant, then saying no isn't really a big issue. And I suppose that kind of works with the rest element of this as well.
Okay, so that's kind of got to root my question then. You're using your goals to be able to say no to people.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to set out those kind of goals, those kind of big things in life, because it's a bit like your own personal set of principles. And you're making the decision, okay, what is it that you truly value in life? Is it that you're truly valuing moving around from place to place to place? Is it a case of you truly value actually having that more authentic time with people?
So you start using your values and your goals to not take the success to the extremes, so you can still enjoy the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Around people.
And different people will have a different level at which they want to play with regards to what they truly value in life, as opposed to what why. So, for example, given the example of what we said with bring up our kids, you guys, and saying, okay, no, we wanted to make sure you had the space and time to enjoy it. That became a value that we held. But for other people, that might not be a value that they specifically hold. They may want to say, actually, no, it's about bringing the family together or something, or it might be some other thing that they truly value. So it's all about kind of working out what is it that you value in life, and then making that work for you, so that you're not feeling constantly obliged to do things for other people. I mean, yes, it's always nice to do things for other people, but it's not an obligation.
Yeah, so people are not falling into the all or nothing trap.
Absolutely,
because that can be a problem.
Yeah, because and the other side of it is sometimes you end up, trying to recreate something that might have worked a few years ago that doesn't work today, and you're trying to chase a feeling that you can no longer recapture, and rather than actually seeking to create new experiences, new feelings, and new ways of approaching things.
Yeah, I like what you said there. That was good. So, how can someone like moderate their fitness streak? How can someone keep their fitness streak alive through Christmas, through all this hecticness? Like bouncing from house to house, like obviously you put in that method of like getting people to come to you so you can still like maintain your routine, but I guess without learning that.
Yeah. So again, this brings us back to episodes where we talked about movement and things, and it is a bit of a actually utilizing that time to move, as opposed to being saying, okay, I'm not going to move. And it might be, for example, you can't stick to your routine. If your routine is doing like 5 gym sessions, 3 running sessions, yoga, etc., it might be saying, okay, actually, with everything else that's going on, I can't fit that in. But what I might be able to do is I might be able to fit in 3 gym sessions, might be able to go running twice a week and be able to do the stretching maybe 3 or 4 times a week as well. Or it might be, for example, rather than trying to say do an hour's gym session, you say, okay, I'm going to fit half an hour in, so I can still do 5 days a week, but do a little bit less time. So it's saying, okay, how can I make it work? And it's that kind of switching your mind, rather than saying, I've got these things that's stopping me. It's actually saying, now, how can I make this happen? Because your mind is like it's like the human Google, right? You ask it a question, it will find the answer for you. But it is all about, trying to ask that right, powerful question. Because if you ask a poor quality question, it's still going to find the answer for you. So, for example, so many people ask, why has this happened to me? Oh, I'm so busy all the time. And what the brain does, for example, is it'll just replay why it happens to you. Well, this happened last Tuesday, this happened last Wednesday, this happened with your sister, this happened with your brother, your boss told you this, blah, blah, blah. And it'll replay all those really horrible kind of experiences for you if you really want it to. Or for example, if you say, why can't I find the time? It's going to replay all those things that you got. You got this happening Monday, this happening Tuesday, this happening Wednesday. You got 4 reports for them, 5 things happening over there, and it will give you all those kind of answers, which will make you feel even more overwhelmed. Whereas actually reframing the question and actually changing the questions you're asking yourself. So, how can I do this? How can I fit this into my life? How can I achieve this? How can I enjoy the next few moments? And then what will happen is your mind will come up and give you suggestions. So, for example, how can I fit getting to go into the gym over the Christmas period when I know it's going to be busy? Well, yeah, it's going to be busy, but actually maybe you could do a body weight workout at home on the morning. It could be that, for example, you decide to go to the park run to do a run that day rather than deciding not to do a run.
So it's all about consistency in this case.
It's all about asking the right questions of your head. So consistency is part of it. But I mean, coming back to what we're talking about here around moderation, so really thinking about that whole thing about how do we bring in how do we bring in things like sleep? How do we bring in things like how do we slow ourselves down? How do we de-stress during this period of time and actually take those happiness? How can we identify those moments of stress and kind of managing them? Or for example, how can we utilize this period? Because it is a great social period, so we should be able to utilize it to really connect with other people, and those can give us some really powerful things that we can utilize for ourselves as well.
Okay, so bearing on those topics then, how would you say sleep differs from this time of year to others? Because I know like New Year's is a big one, because if you're not used to staying up, you'll be up late. But like the actual build up itself, I'm not too sure how much people's routines would change, but as you get closer and closer, there's all those like parties, a little bit like those temptations again, I suppose. Like everyone's having a do on all the different weekends, and then your schedule probably just gets like thrown out of the window. So what would your strategy be to kind of maintain those levels? Or if you are choosing to go to all these things, how would you manage the effects differently?
Yeah, and it's a really good kind of question, especially with regards to sleep and sleep regulation, because your sleep patterns will get disrupted if you decide that you are going to go to some of the parties and join in, and you should. I mean, at the end of the day, there's so many amazing benefits that you get from social connection and being with people and enjoying life. By going to parties and actually socializing, that it's definitely worthwhile doing. But you're right to kind of say, okay, well, what do I do about that? And some of that might be, for example, managing your alcohol intake. So I'm not the alcohol Nazi or something. I'm not going to say don't drink. I enjoy a nice beer as much as anybody does.
I guess it's got to be aware it's going to affect your REM sleep.
Exactly.
Because you can go to bed smashed, feeling like, oh, passed out, went to sleep so easy, but the quality of your sleep is not as good.
Yeah. So it might be, for example, you come up with a tactic because there are a few interesting effects. So, for example, the first drink that you have is the one that kind of tastes the best. And then as you're kind of going further into the evening, if you are going for several drinks, you'll find second, third drink probably don't taste as good. By the time you get to your fourth, your taste buds are pretty much shot. And so it's interesting, for example, if you really fancy having a nice drink, then make it your first drink. And it might be, for example, that takes that pressure away from it. And then maybe it's a case of saying, okay, I'm going to alternate, have a beer, maybe followed by a glass of water, or maybe followed by a non-alcoholic drink of some kind. Or it might be saying, okay, I'm just going to go and have the two drinks, and you choose them when you're going to have them during that event.
Yeah, and set yourself that boundary from the start could be a good thing.
Yeah.
And just make sure that you're disciplined and don't just, I'll have one more. Like, just don't do that. And then you'll be okay, ready to bounce back the next day.
Exactly. So you can still enjoy it. You can enjoy the taste, enjoy being around, etc.
An interesting thing that I've heard, just while on the topic of parties, I suppose, like I've heard that a way to like offset the effects of staying up late is to actually look at the sunset. I've heard that does something for your circadian rhythm, maybe. I've heard it. I haven't tested the theory.
I think there is some like science behind that with regards to how our rhythms are generated by the sunlight. So yeah, I can agree that there probably is something in there. I haven't actually tested it.
I haven't tested it.
No idea whether it would actually work specifically. But then again, I know that, for example, you're affected a lot more by light sensitivity than I am when it comes down to things like that. So.
I am now that I've been like doing things based on light sensitivity. I don't feel like I was when I was younger.
Oh, I don't know. I can. Used to get. We had a few interesting tantrums when it went past 8 o'clock, and it was like, I'm not happy. So
yeah,
over the years,
I think I do have a tendency to go to bed early and wake up earlier. But in terms of light sensitivity, I think it's all inside your mind, to be honest. Like what you believe is what happens, but there is some signs to it on paper. Just because I'm trained, like I think it's more about like the rhythm that kind of like makes all the other rhythms kind of line up with each other.
Yeah. I mean, coming back to what will happen when you go in, for example, a party and when it's going to be affecting your sleep. Obviously, we've touched on alcohol being one, definitely.
And sunset's being another.
Sunset's being another. We can also look at things like, for example, the when you're actually eating during that period, because again, eating just before you're due to go to sleep, that can affect your kind of sleep patterns as well. So that's
and digestion. It's just not the best thing for digestion either.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's things, for example, so it might be a case of saying, okay, well, if it gets to X amount, like X time, you're going to say, no, I'm going to have anything else from there. So it might be an 8 o'clock cutoff or something.
So I do think like a lot of people, or some people, probably including myself, to be honest, will struggle with having that cutoff. So do you have any like personal techniques for that? Not that that'll work for everybody, but like being disciplined in saying, I'm going to stop drinking at this time, I'm going to stop eating at this time, I'm only going to have this many of this. Like it is hard to do because the temptation sets in.
But then it comes
and staying up, by the way, it's not just eating. It's like going home. It's like, oh, I'll go home at 10. And it's like, oh, I'll just go home at 10:15.
It all comes down to your goals, though, doesn't it? I mean, that's the key thing. It brings you back to what is it you're trying to achieve with your life. And hence the reason why, the old adage of life without a goal is like a ship without a rudder. But it is so, so true, because as soon as you don't have a goal there, then anything's acceptable. So yeah, you can say, okay, I'm going to call it a day at 10 o'clock, and then it becomes 11, but you've got nothing really to worry about the following day or 12, and again, it's okay. And then before you know it, it's 3 a.m, and you've just like scraping yourself up off the floor somewhere.
So is this like short-term goal setting within long-term goal setting? Like with you saying like there's nothing necessarily needs to get up for, is it because like if you like you need a goal to get out of bed in the morning is what you're saying basically, to then discipline you to then.
And again, this is so specific to each and every person. You've got to find the way that works.
This is why I'm asking you personally.
Yeah. So for me, for example, we've got the big awards, Academy Awards are coming up, and on the 22nd of and
22nd of something.
Yeah. And one of the ways I'm going to be utilizing a strategy to manage that is the day after. I've actually got a run plan. We're going for a 15K run. And that means that I need to be up at like 6 o'clock the following morning. So for me to be able to do that and perform a reasonable way, I mean, I don't want to break any records here, even my own personal ones, but I do want to enjoy doing that run. So it does mean I'll need to be like leaving that party no later than 10.
Yeah, and that's nice because you're finding the moderation, you're finding the balance there of the social time, of seeing people, of doing the awards, of going to an event, and then also like having the advantage of being able to get up and go do that run to work towards your goals the next day. That's good. I like that.
Exactly. So that's giving you one way I'm dealing with one of those. When it comes down to other parties, etc., and again, it's finding those things that you know that you want to do. And it might be booking something for the following day, especially, for example, if it's a big event and you're thinking, okay, how am I going to manage this? There's going to be lots of peer pressure, etc., to do certain things. Then, find things that actually light you up even more. What's even bigger than that? So that effectively you can then say, okay, I don't have to take that step and do that action.
Yeah, making it a little bit less impactful. I like that.
Yeah, make your dreams, make your goals so big that actually everything else seems inconsequential.
Yeah, you have been saying that a lot on this series and starting to dial in. I like it. Right, what do you want to talk about next? You said sleep, and then there's another topic beyond that.
Slowing down.
Well, there's a tough one. You can drill some things into me.
Yeah, trying to get you to slow down for a while.
Because it's interesting, like it does seem extra hard to slow down at this time of year because everything else is speeding up.
Yeah. And again, how much of that is true, and how much of that is kind of just the perception of what people are trying to make you do. So, for example, if you're in work, again, many corporate jobs or many people that are running businesses at this time of year, it's a normal deadline for people to want things to be delivered before Christmas. So what you tend to feel is everyone's kind of getting more and more pressure to perform, more pressure to deliver, etc., more pressure to get the outcomes before we get to this, like the Christmas shutdown. People are kind of getting to the point where they're thinking, okay, I want to clear the desk ready for when we have that kind of Christmas kind of closure, so they may be taking holiday, etc., over those few weeks. So again, that brings this extra kind of amount of work that kind of goes on at this period. And it's not just kind of from a work perspective as well. I mean, when you think about what's happening across the whole of the shopping kind of area, there's so much more marketing, so much more advertising, so much more kind of guilt-driven expectations being given.
Yeah, you're getting bombarded by a lot of things.
Oh, absolutely. And it's one of those things where you if you're not careful, you can very quickly get swept away with the drama of things that are not necessarily your drama, things that are not necessarily part of what is your life, but just it's because it's touching you and it's kind of you're having an interaction with it.
And I think from what I've learned is to have a little bit of a plan around this time of year. So, for example, like getting the Christmas presents, like because you're going to have to get ahead with work anyway. So just getting ahead of work in like at the start of December, the end of November, instead of like leaving it all to the end. Like things will still creep in, but at least you've got that little bit more wiggle room and you're just a bit more calm, relaxed. And then you're not darting from like a crazy day at the office straight to the like super busy shops. And then like, I haven't got my, like if you get a delivery or something, if you're not booked that slot and then suddenly you can't get slots and you're forced to go to the supermarket or something like that. Like, I think there's a lot of things you can pre-plan to take away some of the stress. Stress will creep in, like things will get busy, but if you have those things set in place already, I think that does help a lot.
Yeah, and I think you've touched on probably one of the biggest tools that you've got in your arsenal, really, which is the planning side of things.
Well, yeah, that's where I was kind of going with my thread there.
Yeah, because when you plan things in, then suddenly it becomes easier. So for example, you should be planning in your diary, even at stressful times like this, your downtime. So, for example, so you've got that couple of hours or half a day where you're not going to do anything, where you're not going to go charging around and trying to get things accomplished, but actually you've got that kind of space, and even simple things like, for example, on a daily basis, still plan in that hour every day where you can just relax. It's preferably if it's the last hour before you're due to go to bed, that's brilliant because it'll kind of aid your sleep. But certainly if you can just find a space where you can have at least an hour where it's planned into the diary, where there is no kind of obligations, there's no alarms, there's no kind of commitments, etc. It's just kind of you, space, time, and suddenly it gives you that kind of nice buffer. You've got that availability to you there. So when you've got the craziness of what happens during the whole of this month now, especially on the lead up towards the new year, as you keep pointing out, you've still got those moments where you can do that.
Yeah, and I guess make sure you keep doing it. Like we have spoke about this before, but because you actually pointed out to me that I do have a method of this by going on a walk. Now that's not complete rest and stillness, but it is very mindful, and that is an hour that I definitely make sure does happen between like similar times. And there is a bit of time pressure on it in the fact that like I can't really go before, and I do have to be back for a certain time. But like because it's already blocked in, then at least for that amount of time, I can be quite mindful. And then I really struggle to get the full 1 hour before bed of complete relaxation because it actually kind of like unrelaxes me if I'm trying to like give that forced relaxation. But like 15 minutes to half an hour, definitely needed instead of just crashing straight to the pillow and wondering like, why am I wide awake? Your mind was going crazy already. So yeah, and just at this time of year, it's probably more important than ever to make sure you keep doing those things and don't like let other things take over.
Definitely beyond a measure of a doubt, and again, it's all highly personal. So it's working out those things that work best for you. So for me, it took me a while to work out that actually that last hour before going to bed, that's great for me. That absolutely works spot on. So it's one thing I do highlight to other people. But for you, 15 minutes, if that's all you need, fantastic. But
that's all I need when I've already had that hour in my day that you probably don't manage to get. So that's probably like where the difference is. It's like where you can fit it in is what's important without ruining anything else. Because like if taking that 1 hour for your 1 hour for yourself is just filled with like, oh, I don't have enough time to do this, that, and the other, and it's like you're not relaxed at all, then it's probably actually worse for you.
Exactly. Because
whereas like when you have this hour before bed, it's like you have nothing to do and you can actually relax your mind.
Yep.
Until the next day.
Yep. Turn it off. Everything can wait until tomorrow.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you need that. Or for me, it's like turn it off midday. Is what I've kind of got used to.
Yeah.
So yeah, whatever works for you.
Yeah, and taking that hour out for that walk is good.
Yeah, and I guess final thing, like note that it's probably going to be subject to change as well. Like I might not always have the hour in the day and might shift to the evening, and then like you might like switch like later in life to having that time in the middle of the day. So subject to change, like don't get too stuck in that.
Yeah, life is always about change. It's the only constant of life is change, really. So we've kind of touched on around how to slow down a little bit, and again during the holiday season, that's definitely something to do to find those moments of calm and peace amongst what might be a very fast-moving, enjoyable time, as well as potentially a little bit stressy in places.
Yeah.
So we kind of touched on, I think, most of the things there. We touched on sleep, we touched on stress, we touched on slowing down and things. We touched on some ideas, how you can kind of manage situations and things. But I think the key thing is just be there to enjoy yourself, enjoy those social interactions, enjoy catching up with people that you've not spoken to for quite some time. Those relationships that you have, those relationships that you build, those relationships that you nourish, those are the things that really kind of they count. They are the supporters in your life, and they're the people around you that you can have those great conversations with and share those key moments with. And it's not always easy. It's not easy to maintain those relationships all the time, but it's so powerful and so worth it, because as human beings, we were never ever designed to do things by ourselves. We were designed to do things as a community of people to do things together.
Yeah, 100%. Like, definitely utilize this time of year because, it just brings everybody together. And while you have that opportunity to go around to your friend's house, to your family's house, to see people you're not seen for a while, like if it's people like your cousins, you might not have seen them for like a year. So yeah, definitely take that time to spend. Like, just enjoy your family. Like with those parties and stuff, like I would say that yes to the opportunities, but just make sure like you're disciplined in what you want to do, so they're analogous to your goals. And yeah, just have a fantastic time this month, everybody.
Absolutely. So we're going to catch up again next time as we move on our journey as how to manage Christmas and survive it, thrive it, and actually really enjoy it.
Yeah, what episode are we on next?
So the next episode we're going to be looking at monitoring. So effectively, what are things should we kind of monitor during the festive period just to make sure we're still keeping on with our goals?
Yeah, well, we'll catch you in the monitoring episode before we do the outro.
In the meantime, a big thank you to everybody for listening to this episode of the Fit Business Life podcast. The Fit Business Life podcast is brought to you in partnership with Sharp Fit for Life and the Business Body Network, helping busy professionals and their teams become even more happier, healthier, and higher achieving in business and in life. If you'd like to join us as a guest or be part of the show, then, or just want to get in touch to talk about the topic we've covered, then we'd love to hear from you. Simply email hello@sharpfitforlife.com. Once again, thank you for listening to the Fit for Business Life podcast. The Fit for Business Life podcast is produced and presented by Wax Tie. Copyright is applied.
Subscribe.